It's late at night, and the truck driver, named Eduardo Colon, finds himself at a motel for a one-night stay. After a long day on the road, all he wants is some well-earned rest. He cleans up, prepares a hot meal, and within a few hours, drifts off into much-needed sleep, ready to hit the road again early in the morning. At least, that's how the night was supposed to go. It's 2 days later, and Eduardo has yet to check out. The motel security guard is forced to break into the room. At first glance, everything seems oddly ordinary. Blankets are tossed carelessly across the room. On the table sat a purse, a pocketbook, a bracelet, a suitcase, a weighing scale with the name George Martinez on it, and a Polaroid photo from a photo booth. But as the guard makes his way to the back of the room and into the bathroom, he finds something far from ordinary. Hanging from the shower head by a suitcase strap is the decomposing body of a woman, and Eduardo is nowhere to be found. You would think that this photo would be a surefire way to identify this woman. However, reality has been quite the contrary. Police have since connected her likeness with the woman in the room, yet to this day, her identity remains unidentified, unknown, reduced to a Jane Doe. The Albuquerque Jane Doe. After an autopsy, it was revealed that she had heroin in her system and had taken her own life. Although her death occurred just 2 days earlier, on June 3rd, her body had undergone severe decomposition, leaving her unrecognizable. The Polaroid photo found at the scene is believed to show her alongside who employees recognized as Eduardo, with the photo thought to have been taken shortly before her death. All the evidence from the motel room was collected, as it was the only hope of uncovering her identity. Yet, despite the investigation, no leads ever emerged. No witnesses, no footage, not even Eduardo. It took 7 entire years before Eduardo's family had been contacted by the police, but they were a few years too late. By the time they were found, Eduardo had already passed by natural causes. Upon being shown this mysterious photograph, they revealed that they didn't recognize him at all. This is not Eduardo, and they have never seen that man in their entire life. Since that day, one entirely new mystery emerged. Who is that man in the photo? Now, the attention of the investigators have moved on to finding who this George Martinez was. As the years passed, leads on this case remained non-existent, and the only real clue was the connection to the scale. But with countless people being named George Martinez, tracking him down in the 1990s was nearly impossible. To this day, the mystery remains unsolved, with one exception. A credible tip received by authorities in March of 2021. There's rumors that the woman's name was Becca, and that she had flown in from Los Angeles, California. How she ended up in that motel bathroom is still unknown. However, with the rise of the internet and advancements in technology, there's hope that her true identity may one day come to light. It's sometime in the 1990s, Paris, France. A group of explorers found themselves in the Paris Catacombs through a manhole entrance. The section they were in was completely off limits to the public, and what they are doing is completely illegal. Yet, this didn't stop them. It only sparked more curiosity to what they might discover deep within the catacombs. Hours passed, and the group found themselves far from where they had entered, deep in almost uncharted territory. Eventually, one of the members spotted something on the tunnel floor. A camcorder. At the time, they didn't think much of it, assuming it had been left by another explorer like them. They picked it up and continued. However, exhaustion soon began to set in, and the group decided it was time to make their way back. And with that, their journey into the catacombs came to an end. As for the camcorder, it'll be coming home with one of the explorers. As soon as he got inside, the first thing he did was check for any recordings. What he found was one of the most disturbing things I have ever encountered on the internet. The footage shows a man running frantically through the catacombs, clearly in a state of panic. Towards the end, he drops the camera, leaving it behind as he disappears into the darkness. The first time this video was shown to the public was through a documentary series called The Scariest Places on Earth. Years later, the footage resurfaced on YouTube. To this day, the authenticity of the video remains up for debate. Some believe it was a hoax, staged by the producers of the documentary. However, in the 24 years since, neither the explorers nor the producers have come forward to debunk or discredit the footage. This footage of the Paris catacombs remains unsolved. Whether it's real or a hoax is still up in the air, leaving the man's fate and the truth behind the video remain a mystery to this day. In February 2022, 5 divers were employed by the Peria Fuel Trading Company to perform maintenance on an inactive oil pipeline located at Point Pierre on the western coast of Trinidad and Tobago. The pipeline, extending 1,200 feet horizontally and 60 feet vertically, connected 2 oil risers, Berth 5 and Berth 6, allowing ships to transport their reserves to various facilities on land for processing. However, this particular pipeline had been sealed off and unused since late 2018. The divers on this job were Faisal Kurban, Rishi Nagasar, Yusuf Henry, Kazim Ali Jr., and Christopher Boudrum. They were tasked with removing an inflatable plug from inside the old pipe and installing a connector to the main platform of the Berth 6 riser. Initially, everything seemed to be going according to plan, but they soon realized The plug wouldn't budge, no matter what they tried. Kazim volunteered to retrieve a tool that might help to dislodge it. What they didn't know was that this action would open the door to a catastrophic change in pressure. In one frame, we see the inside of the chamber. In the next, it's pitch black, filled only with the noise of rushing water and muffled screams. Then, a voice reveals the severity of the situation. All 5 men and their equipment had been sucked into the pipe, 60 feet down and over 120 feet horizontally. Within a fraction of a second, they were effectively trapped in the dark, underwater tube. They had no idea what just happened, but they were in excruciating pain and knew they had to get out as soon as possible. Though they survived the initial ordeal, they now faced a new nightmare. In the next moments, they gathered their thoughts and assessed their injuries. It was clear that Christopher Boudrum, seemingly unscathed, was in the best shape and believed his head faced the direction of their entry point. He quickly assumed leadership, and the group began inching their way towards what they hoped was berth 6. It was a 50-50 chance, but it was a risk they were willing to take. With no light and no equipment, they slowly made their way forward. Though they found an air pocket, Chris could see that the area ahead was fully submerged. With no way of knowing how long the stretch of water might be, it could be a few feet or hundreds. Kazim, Rishi, and Yusuf decided the risk was too great and stayed behind. Chris reassured them and pressed on forward, with Faisal by his side. Soon after, they found 2 sets of scuba gear. They put them on and made steady progress for a while. But Faisal eventually told Chris he could no longer continue. Determined, Chris pressed on alone, not even sure if he was heading the right direction. Then, he reached the pipe's bend. He looked up, and it was open. He had made it back. Desperate, he pounded on the pipe, screaming for help. By a miracle, a rescue team found him, dropped the chain, and ultimately saved his life. But there was one problem. The 4 others were still trapped inside. To Chris's horror, he was told that no further rescue attempts would be made, as it was deemed too dangerous. In disbelief, Chris tried to head back down to save his friends, but he was ultimately stopped. For 3 days, the remaining 4 have been left down there in that pipe, pleading and begging, unaware that there were no plans to save them. Inside those pitch-black, claustrophobic pipes were 4 men who were left there to die a slow and painful death. The sounds of their banging A desperate attempt to get anyone to hear them were heard throughout day and night, until eventually, 2 full days later, where the pipe fell silent.